gonna sleep with Nathan. I just feel it in my spirit. I feel it in my spirit, and I'm not okay. I am not okay. Let's get into it. So we open this episode with Nathan just, quietly making his way back into Issa's life. The devil is a liar and I rebuke it, but I think it's gonna happen. So Issa is in the dumps and we see her life, how her life exists without Molly, who has been her best friend for, how old? She said she was 30. So they met in college. So she's probably been her best friend for 8 or 9 years. So we are now seeing how Issa's life is impacted without the presence of Molly. And Issa even said that on her Twitter. She said, we wanted to explore what Issa's life would be without Molly. So this was like a solo. No, she didn't say that. Prentice Penny, one of the EPs, he said that this episode was going to be a solo episode. So we can see how, much fun and brightness Molly is in Issa's life. From this episode, I can say that Molly is definitely a brightness in Issa's life. She is some form of sunshine, but this sunshine got a bit too close and she started burning Issa up. So they needed some space because she got to heal. So because Issa is in the dump, she's doing this thing of gratitude, I guess, of just giving out kindness to others. Like they say in the church, especially the Black church, if the best thing that you can do for yourself, if you are going through it, is to serve others. That will get you out of this rut that you are in because you are feeding your soul with goodness and kindness and just goodness, you know what I mean? So that really uplifts your spirits. And to be quite honest with you, it's very true. It's very true. If you are in the dump, start serving, start being extra kind, start going out of your way for people. One thing that I do is I start cooking for others. You know what I mean? If I'm going through a little something, don't worry. I'm not cooking depression bread, but that is one of my gifts. I like to, cook, and I like to make food for other people because it's just satisfying to me to, just make a meal for somebody and just watch somebody who, just didn't expect it, eat it up or whatever. That was all unnecessary, but I was just saying, serve. If you're ever in that space and you just feel like, oh my gosh, what the hell is going on? Just serve. It might turn out sometimes Issa's, acts of service turned out, but still keep on going because it gets you out of whatever you are in, as we have seen in this episode. So she starts out by, trying to buy this lady groceries, but her card declines. We have all been there. I actually had, what? Maybe this is an LA thing because I have seen this very often, specifically in the Valley location in LA, where there are women who sit outside with their children holding signs and asking people to buy them groceries. And a lot of times it's been a scam. Being from Philly, I come from a place where even the homeless people have pride. You know what I mean? You can't give a homeless person $1. Not in the city of Philadelphia. They're gonna be like, keep this. I want 20. That's just who we are, right? So coming out here, I was just like, if somebody is sitting in front of a supermarket with their children, holding up a sign, asking for, you to help them out, they really need it, because that's where I'm from. If you're really out there on the streets, you really need help. I didn't know that is a huge scam out here. There have been several reports out here throughout the years that I've lived in LA where reporters are exposing people for scamming, acting homeless. And one of them was at the market that I used to frequent. And I was like, oh my gosh, she almost got me. Anyway, that scene was just so honest. And I don't know if it was an LA thing, but I do remember one time, and this was at the Rouse in Sherman Oaks. Is that Sherman Oaks or Encino? Studio City, Sherman Oaks on Coldwater Canyon. Girl, I went in there. I went into this market with no money, okay? I think I had about $20 and I was going to get some pasta and tomatoes and make it last. Okay, stretch it out. And this lady came up to me and I noticed that she was going to everybody. People were ignoring her and be like, okay, not right now, excuse me. And I was just like, oh my goodness, how rude, right? I should have known by the way that people responded to her that something was up, because people in the market were not responding to her like they were disgusted by her. They were responding to her, now that I look back at it, like they were exhausted or, the jig is up. Girl, stop it. We all know what this is, right? But I, not being from here, didn't know what that was, right? So I'm just thinking that everybody is being mean to her. So she comes to me and asks me to buy her groceries. And I'm like, sure, of course. Oh my goodness, this is what Jesus wants us to do. I tell her to get whatever she wants and to meet me in the line. And I'm telling you, the Lord swooped in that day and shut that whole thing down because she disappeared. And I walked around that whole market like trying to find her, and I could not find this woman. So after a while, I was like, listen, it's getting late. You know what I mean? I'm a woman out here. It's getting dark. Let me just go and buy my groceries. And when I went to purchase my groceries, I was still walking out looking for her. I couldn't find her. I was at the front looking for her, and I just could not find this lady. So I was like, all right, let me just go put my groceries in my car. And as I'm putting my groceries in my car, still looking for her just to see, you know, because I would make whatever I have left stretch, right, for her. Couldn't find her. So as I'm closing my door, these two guys start screaming at me from a van. And then I see her start running towards me. And these guys in their van start driving towards me as the girl is running towards me. And they're like, hey, give us the groceries. You said that you would give us groceries. And I'm like, who are you? And she starts screaming, different voice, an entirely different voice, like a deep voice. Now she came to me with this really like sweet, oh my goodness, I'm so hungry. She had this deep voice that was like, that's her. That's the girl that's supposed to buy me groceries. And I was like, oh, hell no, the devil is a liar. Got in my car, locked it, took off running. I don't even think I had my seatbelt on. Took off. Do you know this girl hopped in the van and her and these dudes were chasing me around Studio City. The only way I got away from them was that I parked my car in somebody's parking spot and I turned off my lights and I watched that van drive by me. Never again. Never again, because when I got home, I told my roommates about it. And they were like, oh yeah, that's been happening everywhere. I was like, what? Ain't nobody tell me? They were like, well, you don't watch the news. And they were right. I don't like watching the news because it's very depressing. But after that, I'm always up to date on what's going on. They were just like, yeah, this is a regular thing out here. It's a whole grocery scam. They actually come to you scamming, asking you to buy them groceries. You buy the groceries, help them to their car. Once you get into their car, they kidnap you and they start sex trafficking you. That was the whole scam. And I was like, what? Had no idea. Had no idea. Me coming from church, trying to do a good deed, got taken. So yeah, I never do that anymore. I never do. Never again, baby. Never again. I have my organizations that I give to online, and that is it. As a woman, you just got to be careful. So when I saw, Issa, talking to herself in the mirror, like, do not help this lady out, it triggered me because she was going to everybody with the same script that lady had at that Studio City Ralph's on Coldwater Canyon. I was just like, oh my gosh, this really is an LA thing. This show's about Black people, but it is really about Black people in LA. So anyway, Issa takes the bait and tries to buy this lady's groceries, but her card keeps on declining. And the girl, dropped her whole little, oh my goodness, man, my kids are hungry act. She dropped that whole act and was just like, you know what? Thanks. You gave me perspective. This is getting sad. I'ma go. Like, whole voice changed and everything. And I was like, wow, this is real life. So then, this show is real life, but it's my real life. So then, after, Issa's acts of kindness did not work out with the lady at the grocery store, she stops to pick up this old man who she saw running for the bus, and he missed his bus. And so she decided to give him a ride. But this old man ended up being the passenger from hell, and that almost happened to me too. Guys, I was like, this is my freaking life. This old man was running down Roscoe Boulevard trying to catch the bus, and he missed his bus. And me and my sister were parked at a light, and he knocked on our window and asked us to give him a ride. And I was opening my door to say yes, and my sister was like, girl, no, we don't know who he working with. Closed the door and took off, and he gave us the middle finger because, listen, we probably look like some disrespectful young girls, but we were honestly, my sister was afraid for our lives. So I was just like, this is an LA story, man. This is an LA story. So anyway, she picks up George, the old passenger from hell, and he is just taking advantage of poor Issa, who was trying to do the right thing, like trying to do good deeds. And he is just being a nightmare, cussing people out, got her basically running errands. And she was like, listen, I have stuff to do. And he was like, well, calm pipe down, just cussing her out and just being so rude. And she finally gets him to his destination and takes off. You know what I mean? She wasn't even waiting for him to get out. She just let that man get out and she takes off. While she's taking off, George knocks on the door and somebody opens the door and goes, Dad? I will say this. I wanted more of George's story. I wanted to know. I hope he comes back, but I don't think he will. But I needed to see more of that unfold. So then after these 2 failed good deed attempts, Issa decides to go to a sip and paint solo by herself. She meets these girls. Kyla Pratt is a bride. She plays the bride. And 2 of her friends. And she meets them and they bust it up and have a really good time at the sip and paint. And then they're just like, hey, do you want to, go out with us afterwards and, go to dinner and just, bust it up and have a good time, good girls time. And Issa, who's lonely because she probably would be hanging out with Molly, decides to go to like cheer herself up because she's, still in the dumps. While she's there, they stiff her with the bill and they leave the, scavenger hunt list that they have to do for Homegirl's bachelorette party. And then we get this scene, which I wish was the real thing, where Issa takes off. Was I calling her Issa this whole time? 2 Chainz, Forever 21. They got my mind messed up. Anyway, we see this scene where she's driving her car and she finds them and she takes the painting that she painted at the sip and paint, takes it and cracks it over one of the girls' skull. And they're like, what is wrong with you? And she's like, that's what you deserve. But come to find out, it was just her imagining it. But everybody was on Twitter was like, man, I wish that were real. I do too. Because we were screaming when that moment happened, like screaming joy and just being really happy for her. Like, yes, Issa, they were wrong. What they did to you wasn't right, girl. Go ahead. And then we, cut to her in the car thinking that she wanted to do that. I was like, but I understand because that's just not who she is. But it was funny. It was funny. And I wish it was. So then she goes to see her mom and her mom is played by Jackie Harris. No, not Jackie Harris. Y'all know she's been in our lives. If you're Black, you've seen her on TV since you were a child, especially if you're a millennial. But anyway, she goes to her mom's house and her mom's like, I'm so glad that you came over. And Issa's just acting like she's just there to, hang out with her mom. But she is doing what we all do when we're grown. Find some reason to go over to our parents' home and chat it up with them until we actually get to why we're really there, because we're going through hell and we need our mom, but we're too big to really ask for it. So anyway, she starts talking to her mom about life, everything that's going on with her. And her mom is just like, listen, life just basically doesn't go as planned. It's okay to have mess ups. And, Issa's just like, well, you had my brother and I by the time you were 30 or whatever. And she was just like, well, I didn't want y'all. But it happened and I rolled with the punches, just basically telling her daughter that life is about mistakes. It's ups and downs. You win some, you lose some, but you live to fight another day. Just really encouraging her child and letting her know that, this too shall pass. There'll be more moments like this and you'll get over it and you'll grow and you'll be better and you'll figure out how to work with the highs and the lows of life. I will say this. I thought that these characters were like 35 through 37. I even thought that some of them were 40. Now, when Issa said that she was 30, I was like, okay, I get some of the stupid things because I feel like late 20s, early 30s is the point where you are making mistakes, but getting instant reflection from it. You know what I mean? Like when you're younger, you're making mistakes. And then later in your life, you're like, oh, okay, so that's why that happened. When you get older, you make a mistake and like instantly life just tells you, girl, no. Like you get all of these alerts of something that you did that was wrong and immediately you're trying to like fix it. Because I guess with life just comes maturity. You just realize that actions have immediate consequences and you're trying to figure out how to fix everything before you get to a certain age, especially as a woman. You're just trying to get all of this before, 20, then trying to get all of this before 30, then trying to get all of this before 40. Then you get to 50 and you're like, shut the hell up. I'm about to get into my, grandma stage and I don't want nobody talking to me. That's the age because I've seen it. I've seen it in my mom. I've seen it in my aunts. I've seen it in, coworkers and people that I, love and know in my life, people that I'm close with. I've seen them go through life and then I see them start to get like something about that 50 mark where basically they don't give a damn. And it's not disrespectful. It's just like, no. And that's it. Like, no, I'm not doing it. And we all look at our mom and our aunties as just being rude or something like that, right? But you start to realize the older that you get, especially as a woman, that you spend so much of your life apologizing, that when you get to a certain age, you're just done. It's like something clicks in a woman and it's just like, no, I'm not sorry anymore. I said what I said. Like it's something that happens. It's honestly something that I'm looking forward to because I'm still, I thought by the time I turned 30, I would be like, I would be in it. But I'm still dealing with the breaking out of the little girl and being okay with being this woman and, owning what I want. Because even when I own what I want, I might not say it, but I still feel kind of bad. You know what I mean? Just like, no, I said no because I didn't want to go, but I feel bad. But then I talked to my mom about it and she's just like, did you want to go? I'm like, no. But she's like, but you didn't want to go. You're grown. Don't go. And she just walks off. She's fine. But I'm not there yet. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's just something that comes with living life and maturing a bit more. And that's why her mom was able to impart so much wisdom into her because she's lived through it. She's been through it. And she's been at that age where she was just feeling sorry for herself or trying to make things work and everything was falling apart and feeling like this was the end of it. And because she was able to live through that, she was able to tell her daughter what she needed to do to get to the next point. It was also a really good moment. It was definitely a Black mama moment because when she hugged her mom, Issa was acting like everything was okay. Even when she was, talking to her mom and just really being honest and showing her heart. But when her mama hugged her and homegirl broke down crying, I was like, there it is. Let me tell you something. I could be holding in everything. The minute my mama reached for me, tears, because everything that I was holding, all of my walls, everything I was trying to keep up just breaks down. And I just am embraced by her. I am back in the bosom. I am back in my safe zone. I am hugging my first home and it feels so beautiful. That moment I was like, yep. I don't care what you're going through. When you hug your mama, everything just comes out. Everything just comes out. That's this right here. Black mama safe zone. Something about them Black mama titties that just lets you release everything that you have been going through. So that moment, very relatable. So after Issa gets uplifted from her mom, she's renewed now, right? So life is starting to feel better. And so now, instead of doing the gratitude, she's doing the gratitude on herself. You know what I mean? Instead of serving others, she's serving herself. She's giving herself her own self-care Sunday and really enjoying her time just being with her, getting to work, responding to comments about her block party, which I'm so happy is actually a real thing. Thank you guys for letting me know that is actually something that she is going to do. She is living her best life. Even when her friends are calling and being like, hey, have you guys talked? What are you doing? Let me tell you something. When Kelly kept on calling her and was trying to get Issa to talk to Molly, it gave me so much anxiety because I absolutely hate being that friend. I hate when my friends get into it and then certain people are not talking. And it's just an awkward space to be in because the group only works when everybody is syncing together, when everybody is on one accord, when everybody is cool. When one of us or two of us are not connecting, it just messes up the vibe and it's just uncomfortable for everybody involved. So I hate being that friend, but I tried to be that friend because I just wanted to get fixed right away because I just don't want it to linger because it's only going to get worse. The more and more that these two don't talk, it's just going to get worse. And then people in the group are going to have to take sides. It's just going to be a whole nightmare. So watching Kelly, I was like, my chest was tightening up because I was like, I hate this. I hate being in this position. Of course, when I'm the friend that's in it with another friend, I can't see it. But when I'm not, oh girl, nightmare.com. I absolutely hate that position. Poor Kelly. Poor Kelly. But Issa and Molly are not breaking. Nobody is talking to each other. They're actually giving each other space. They're actually both being very stubborn and very prideful. Somebody is waiting for the other person to call them. And Issa is just like, I always reach out. It's time for her to reach out to me. Molly is probably thinking the same thing. So they're just being stubborn. And the thing that bothers me is although Issa was having her own self-care Sunday and really building herself up and having a really great time, I kind of was disappointed because I feel like the more time that she spends without Molly, she's going to get into a place where she is neutral. And neutral is basically where you're just not affected by this person's presence anymore. They don't bother you. They don't excite you. It's just, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? Like, you could be cordial in a room with them and not be affected by their presence. Like, it's like, hey girl, what's up? It's just it's like the love is gone. It's like the love is gone. And when the love is gone in a friendship, especially when you're older, it's really hard to get that back. So I just don't want them to have too much space, because I feel like if they have too much space, they won't be able to get back to where they were or start off from a place of healing and move forward in their relationship. Because watching Issa have a good time, I was like, yes, good for you. But then I was just like, oh girl, you're starting to have too much fun without Molly. I don't want her to get neutral. I'm glad that she's taking care of herself. I'm glad that she's doing big things for herself. But I really like this friendship. And I think that although they both have things that they need to work on, they were a good girlfriend match. Maybe they grew out of each other. Oh. So this episode ends with Issa going out to her favorite spot. Was this an Ethiopian spot? It was a favorite spot to get something to eat from. And this was during her self-care Sunday where she was just like, having a good time, really enjoying her Issa time. And she pulls up to her favorite spot, and who is sitting there but Molly, looking very happy without her. So Issa is standing there because Molly hasn't seen her yet. And she's standing there wondering if she's going to go in, like contemplating if she's going to go in or not. And then she starts to open the door, and then she just says, nah, closes the door, walks away, gets in her car and leaves. And I'm just like, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Y'all know that I have not been Team Molly for a couple episodes, but I still think that they were good friends. I think they are growing, and they both need to learn how to accept each other where they're at now. Because their friendship started when you're like in a very young, innocent place. You know what I mean? You go from high school to college, still a very secure place with minimal freedom. You know what I mean? It's not the real world. When you start to get into the real world, you're changing, you're adjusting, things are happening to you, and you're growing. And sometimes you may grow into a person that is not the same person, but I feel like this friendship should be able to outlast that. Because when you get to a point where you're crying over somebody because they were so important to your life, maybe that's just a relationship you want to work on. Maybe you need to communicate with each other so that this can be fixed. Because I don't think that this can't be fixed. But I feel like the more that these two give time to this disagreement, it just won't be fixable. It'll be in a weird place, because I remember one of my really good friends back in the day, I felt like this person was going to be a lifelong friend, and we had a disagreement and we didn't know how to communicate. And now we're trying to make something happen, but we've grown so much and so much time has passed where it's just like, we're in the place, or I know I'm in the place that I didn't want to be with her, and that I don't want Issa to be with Molly. I'm very neutral. You know what I mean? And this was somebody that I loved. And I hate that, because that was a good friendship. And we had a disagreement as young, hot 20-year-olds. And I feel bad. I feel bad, because I think if we could have weathered that storm, we would have really been able to help each other grow and just be in a better place together. I mean, we're both in great places, but we're in great places separately. And I hung out with her recently, and it was just this need to be connected long ago. And we can't get here because it's been so much time and we're just so different. And it's just really hard to get to that place. And I wish we could have. I wish we would have talked that out. And I just don't want that for Issa and Molly, because I do think that these two are good for each other, but they're not communicating. And that is, you have to be able to communicate with your girlfriends as well. You can't just work on stuff and go to therapy and do all these sessions and read all these books and watch all these YouTube videos about relationships and just apply them to being in a relationship with your man, or apply them to your partner. Apply them to your relationships with your girlfriends as well, because they are just as important as your relationship with your partner. Issa and Molly, don't be being my girlfriend from back in the day. Don't be us. Don't be us, because we're big and grown at our big age trying to make something work. But it's like, I don't even know if this can happen, man. What did you think about this episode? Let's talk about it in the comment section below. And if you like what you see here, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I will see you next episode, basically, because I don't want to give you guys a day. Listen, I am producing, writing, and editing this whole show myself. So it takes some time. But I will see you soon for the following episode of Insecure. Love you guys. Bye. Talk to your girlfriend. Communicate. Don't lose a good girlfriend over some mess that you won't even remember later in life. Love y'all.